Welcome to our US Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into the Middle East drama where Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, boldly claims victory over Israel and the US after a recent ceasefire, highlighting Iran's perceived strength and regional influence. Meanwhile, on the ground, violence continues with Palestinian casualties and settler attacks, and international diplomacy heats up with upcoming nuclear talks and aid debates. Next up, the complex Israel-Iran war has left many questions unanswered. The recent strikes have caused heavy casualties and damaged key sites, but experts debate the extent of destruction and legality. The conflict has also strained global non-proliferation efforts, with concerns about nuclear proliferation and regional stability looming large. Finally, in economic news, China is aiming to become a consumption powerhouse, shifting focus from manufacturing to boosting domestic demand through reforms and innovation. Plus, environmental concerns shine a light on collectible toys like Labubu, urging sustainability. That's all for today. Please continue to stay tuned for more detailed insights. Deutsche Welle reports that Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has declared a victory over Israel and the United States, claiming that the Zionist regime has been practically knocked out under Iran's blows. This statement marks his first public address since the ceasefire was brokered, and he asserts that the US gained no real advantage from the conflict, suggesting Washington only intervened because Israel was on the verge of total destruction. Meanwhile, amidst ongoing tensions, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sees a rare glimmer of opportunity, emphasizing that the recent 12-day war with Iran has opened the door for expanded peace negotiations, potentially extending the Abraham Accords to other regional players like Saudi Arabia, and he urges that the moment should not be wasted. As Israel shifts focus back to Gaza, where Hamas still holds hostages, Netanyahu underscores the urgency of seizing this window of opportunity, with some analysts warning that the conflict's aftermath could entrench regional instability rather than foster lasting peace. The EU, meanwhile, calls for an immediate ceasefire and urges Israel to respect humanitarian laws, but stops short of taking concrete action against Israel's ties, even as allegations of human rights violations and breaches of international law continue to surface. The US, claiming success in its strikes on Iran's nuclear sites, remains engaged in diplomatic efforts, with reports of close communication with Iran despite the lack of scheduled talks, and President Trump even suggesting that negotiations could resume next week, although Iran has yet to confirm any such plans. Tensions on the ground persist as Israeli settlers attack Palestinian villages in the West Bank, killing 3 Palestinians and injuring others, highlighting the fragile and volatile state of the region as global powers maneuver amidst accusations, military strikes, and diplomatic posturing. According to South China Morning Post, while China's technological advancements like the DeepSeek AI model have bolstered confidence in its capital markets amid rising US competition, economists emphasize the urgent need for structural reforms to pivot China towards a consumption-driven economy. Jean Qiu from Hong Kong University of Science and Technology underscores that China's current focus on subsidizing production and boosting competitiveness must shift to fostering domestic consumption, especially in services and smaller cities, to achieve sustainable growth and global harmony. Ishwar Prasad from Cornell highlights that without deep macroeconomic reforms, technological progress alone won't sustain confidence or economic stability. Meanwhile, Joseph Nye from McKinsey points out that innovations like DeepSeek are creating anxieties about job security among youth, emphasizing the importance of social safety nets and rising incomes, as advocated by Zhu Min, a former IMF official. Premier Li Chang and Qiushi, the Communist Party's theoretical journal, reiterate China's commitment to becoming a consumption powerhouse by addressing structural challenges through comprehensive reforms, expanding domestic circulation, stabilizing employment, and promoting service and emerging consumption sectors. The overarching message is clear: China must undertake profound reforms to enhance internal demand, stabilize employment, and foster a resilient, market-driven economy to sustain both domestic and global growth. South China Morning Post vividly illustrates the environmental toll of the popular collectible toy Labubu, emphasizing its irresistible charm contrasted starkly with its heavy carbon footprint. The article describes these miniature figures as wide-eyed and irresistibly cute, yet each unboxing unleashes a cascade of waste, glossy cardboard, foil pouches, and figurines made from non-biodegradable plastics like polyester, PVC, and ABS. These materials are not only durable but also environmentally stubborn. They degrade into microplastics and leach toxic compounds, contributing to long-lasting pollution. The manufacturing process itself is energy-intensive, with producing just 1 kilogram of ABS emitting nearly 3 kilograms of CO2. Despite the toy industry's slow adoption of circular models, the proliferation of duplicate figurines and excessive packaging underscores a culture of overconsumption. The article advocates for a shift towards sustainable alternatives, such as transforming post-consumer plastics into durable toys and implementing community swap days, to ensure that the joy Labubu brings does not come at the planet's expense. The piece calls for these beloved objects to evolve into symbols of sustainability, reminding us that true happiness should also be kinder to the environment. The Hong Kong Standard discusses the controversial proposal to overhaul the governance of supplementary medical professions, advocating for the removal of doctors from these boards. Currently, 2 out of 11 members on each board are medical practitioners, nominated by the Hong Kong Medical Association and the British Medical Association. The proposed amendments suggest replacing these with representatives from the Hong Kong Academy of Medicine and the Hospital Authority, aiming to foster better collaboration with public healthcare providers. However, the article questions the necessity of doctors' presence on these boards, citing examples from the UK, Australia, and Canada where such organizations operate independently without medical representatives. It argues that supplementary medical professions, like optometry, should be self-governing, with their own councils, to ensure true independence and transparency. The author advocates for reciprocal representation, suggesting that if doctors sit on these boards, then representatives from supplementary professions should also be included on broader health governance bodies, to promote genuine collaboration and accountability. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation highlights the complex legal and diplomatic challenges surrounding the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, an immigrant caught in the crossfire of U.S. immigration enforcement and criminal justice. Abrego Garcia, a construction worker from Maryland with a long-standing family life in the U.S., was mistakenly deported to El Salvador in March, sparking outrage and legal action. Despite his subsequent return to face serious smuggling charges, concerns mount that the Trump administration plans to deport him again, this time to a third country, without a clear timeline. His wife, Jennifer Vasquez Sura, is suing the government, arguing that the swift deportation threatens his right to a fair trial and risks further separation from his family. The case underscores the tension between immigration policies, judicial proceedings, and individual rights, with courts deliberating whether to prevent his deportation before trial. Meanwhile, government officials emphasize that Abrego Garcia will face justice in the U.S., asserting that he must serve time for his alleged crimes. The ongoing legal battles reflect the broader struggles of balancing national security, immigration enforcement, and human rights in a highly polarized political climate. South China Morning Post reports that Hong Kong stocks are experiencing their most robust weekly rally in nearly 4 months, driven by a tentative agreement between China and the U.S. on export tariffs and increased optimism about U.S. interest rate cuts. The Hang Seng Index has surged nearly 4% since Monday, marking its strongest start since early March, while the tech sector has gained 4.5% this week. This positive momentum is mirrored across mainland markets, with the CSI 300 and Shanghai Composite Index climbing, buoyed by notable gains from Xiaomi, Zijin Mining, and Shenzhou. The White House announced a framework agreement on tariffs, including the normalization of rare earth exports, fostering hopes of easing trade tensions. Meanwhile, traders are increasingly betting on at least 2 Federal Reserve interest rate cuts this year, with probability rising sharply for a September move, as signs of cooling inflation emerge. Other Asian markets like Japan and Australia also posted gains, though South Korea's Kospi retreated slightly. Yahoo US details the disbarment of Kenneth Casebro, a lawyer involved in the effort to overturn the 2020 presidential election results to keep Donald Trump in office. The New York Appeals Court ruled that Casebro should lose his license due to his conviction in Georgia for helping craft a scheme to send fraudulent pro-Trump electors from 6 states in an attempt to alter the election outcome. The court emphasized that Casebro's actions undermine justice and the core principles of constitutional democracy, especially given his extensive background in election law and his previous role assisting Al Gore's legal team in 2000. Casebro, who had his license suspended earlier, has admitted to participating in the fake elector plot and is cooperating with prosecutors in multiple states. His disbarment reflects a broader crackdown on lawyers involved in efforts to subvert the 2020 election, with others like John Eastman also losing their licenses for similar conduct. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.